And how are you? So glad to see you all and glad you could be here. I'm really thrilled and honored to be asked to share these ideas by Composer Now. So thanks to our producers and everybody at the family, the tech crew. Thank you so much for all your help. And again, welcome to everybody. Good afternoon on this snowy day here in Boston. That's where I am. Um, I'm feeling like in these years, I want to explore what this means to me now. Speaking of composers now, a contemporary music American composer. Um, I started this track actually in the beginning in the 80s as a student first. And so this is 40 years later. And I can't believe I'm actually saying that. Um, but in these years, I've been writing steadily as a composer, been a professor, an author, write books about these things, public radio show host, and music label producer and owner, and a busy musician. So I come to this point now, and I ask, as this great team has asked me to deal with this question: what does it mean now being a contemporary composer today? Well, I think the joy of the weight of that pen at the service of bringing joy to others is really what I see as paramount. Again, bringing the musical ideas to pen or whatever other means we use to create the music and bringing that to people. I call this composering. It is the creative acts related to number one, artistic relevance, that is, how it matters. Um, B, the education, like who it lifts, citizenry, like kind of where we are and how it matters, and how we commit actually. So I really believe in the whole idea of social engagement and artistry, that it has to count for the world we live in. And in the world that we live in any period, might be very dark and cruel and ugly place. So you place that music in the middle of that chaos, and you produce in the midst of that storm, there are rainbows, I always like to say. So, and I think the other thing is cultural transformation, the measure of your work. The measure of our work is when we do our art, whether it's painting or music, when you leave the room, how high the volume is after you've left. That really means some things have been transformed. So we want to start our sharing today with my Peace Symphony. I call it the Peace Symphony. It's just one movement. It's just 4 minutes, and we hope you enjoy it. was nice to get to share that with you all. We thought we'd open up with the Peace Symphony because, I think it embodies symbolically and spiritually and structurally kind of where I am today as a contemporary music maker. As a matter of fact, that piece that comes from an album that's entitled Composering, Composer in the Modern Urbane, Symphonic and Vocal Music of Bill Banfield, that guy right there. Peace Symphony is a work that was commissioned by Kenny Burrell, my hero, the great jazz guitarist from my home city, Detroit, the greatest musical city in the world, by the way. And he's the head of the UCLA Department of Jazz Studies there. And Kenny's doing well. Talked to him a few days ago. The day before the performance, Herbie Hancock, who couldn't attend the premiere, came by to visit me in my hotel room before the performance. And he said that he was sorry that he had to miss it, but wanted to see the score. Sitting with me and attending that night were two invited friends, Patrice Rushen and Lee Ritenour, both dear friends now, but heroes of mine since a child. That performance took place in Los Angeles with the UCLA Philharmonic. This was the fall of 2012. And combined there were the Los Angeles Jazz Orchestra, the Los Angeles Philharmonic, which is a fitting combination to what we're talking about. This was conducted by Neil Stolberg. And again, I want to talk about cultural collaboration for a minute. Traditional classical music culture, construction, and jazz navigational materials, and my way of approaching music is embodied in this work, which, like I say, I'm thinking of today this year as cultural collaborations. That's what I'm focused on. And I think there's a lot to be said for Western classical musical constructions. It's a dense built house, as you all know. I call it a well-built house, a constructed house. In it, rhythms, melodies, harmonies, form, and expert crafted precision for the constructions. Not the only music that has that, but let's just talk about that one today. Then someone has to learn to play the music, walk the house, each room, and present the work. That is the musicians. I like to think of this as the ROI, the return on investment for the musicians, the creative folks, and for the listeners and the composers for sure. Now in jazz creative construction and performance culture, it's about creative navigation of all the music, using the materials of that musical house build for great artistic individual expression. You have the melody, the harmony, the rhythms, the form of the piece. And then the performing musicians are required to play the changes. That's the trick. The player has to have knowledge of the materials, the way they were constructed in order to exercise precise execution of this music. On your own expression in real time, the player builds their own story on those materials and that musical house, and decorates the rooms in a musical sensible way, and sensical way, as I say, often exhibiting the best scenarios here of the modern definition of virtuoso performances and genius musicianship. Herbie Hancock, who played a Mozart concerto as a youth with the Chicago Symphony, but then at 25 or so as a young man, plays brilliantly with Miles Davis and beyond and to this day. Again, this is the model of cultural collaboration in that way. Here is great, performance, structural construction, and in these terrains, this is the kind of music that we have, at least two great musics, and there are many, many, many great musics, but these two are kind of the ones I want to look at today. But they're, for me right now, are the loudest engines of my own musical kind of world right now. And I shared about those brothers and sister because artists believe in collaboration. And that's the critical component, collaboration and community, that is something we don't talk about enough today as composers. Those two things are very, very important. So I feel always, my teacher is T.G. Anderson. I call him my teacher. He's my musical father from way back I say as a child, but that's 20, and one of the things he used to always say, and still says these days in his 90s, and we love him very much, is that the duty of the composer is to document the culture, to document the culture. And I think there are other things that we do in it as well. But I love that. It's a kind of a dance that helps us kind of responsibly dance with all this music. is this idea of documenting and cultivating it. We move next to my ballet, which is called Todo Pulchero Is, and it was a commission to look at the Haiti re-life again, or rebirth after that great tsunami. And this is the Glass Bar Dancers. We hope you enjoy. I love that. We're talking about cultural collaborations and just watching that. You know, when you're doing that, you work with that company on its collaboration, and I love how you can actually hear the dancers' feet swish across the floor to the beat of the live music, because it's live in this case. the premiere. The orchestration was there. It was a chamber orchestra, and I love that because the body moves, the dancers are there. You actually get the sense of the notion of American jazz in the very motion of the musicians as they move. And I really love seeing that. Composers sometimes don't get to see and hear their stuff, so to share that with you was really great. The next thing that we're going to talk a little bit about is something I call the jazz urbane, and it is it's my label. We created this label about 15 years ago. But based on many years of this notion of how to bring all of these things in the American tradition and the global tradition, as it were, together in a collaborative form and create a label that actually promotes the music and then promotes what it feels like to actually collaborate with younger musicians. And so since I'm no longer a younger musician, it is this griot notion we have in the West African tradition of passing the traditions of the people to the musicians, and the musicians then actualizing that in real time, so people are, as they say, in the moment with the spirit and the wisdom of the gods in the community. So the jazz urbane. So we're playing like we're pantomiming. I guess you're gonna catch some of us singing that, and we'll be playing that. And then we do our own versions, live versions with Annette singing. So it's it's been great just being able to work with you over this last year or so with this. I mean, and it's always a dream of the composer to get a chance to work with such an incredible, vocal artist. My goodness. So the story here. Words linger. These two poets have met. And the whole point is that, the importance of words, and these two characters who understand the consequences and the beauty.
I received your note today. Not sure what it I'm sure glad you thought of me and took the time to share what you said.
I thought that they were amazing. I did not think I could fall in love with that many people on an individual level in such a short period of time. Amazing.
Mixing it up, and we're just kind of acting with them as Annette is singing to us.
I received your note today. Not sure what it meant. Something you said rings so painfully in my head. Never thought it, never felt it till I took the time to read.
Question, words linger. We can just create that in the spirit of, I think it'll really carry the story. That's beautiful. You sound lovely. As always.
I love this show. I'm a big fan of Bill Banfield. I just think it's terrific to have all these talented people get together and do what they do.
They're great. We see them all the time. We're big fans.
Yeah.
They are fabulous. It was my first time.
Like last night, I must have gone to the
It was gorgeous, wonderful. This is my first time for being here, seeing them here at Scholars.
Yes, definitely. They were really good, really good. We'll definitely see them again if they're playing.
Oh, definitely. Gorgeous voices, beautiful band.
I thought it was amazing. She actually came all the way from Paris to see it.
Formidable.
Exactement.
Hi, it was great.
It was really enjoying that, and I had again just seen that a few weeks ago. I reminded of Carlos Averhoff, the Carlos Averhoff too. The father is the great Cuban saxophonist in Ikire, but his son is a member of this band, and so this whole notion of collaboration is really evident in the way they filmed that, from the making of the song. Its words linger. If you saw that in it. And the song goes from, conception to production, and then that production is shared with people, and then people, embrace the music. I mean, what else is music for? To me, that's the purpose in music, is having art meet everybody at the dance hall. And for me, the dance hall and the concert hall are synonymous. It's where people are assembled to have joy, actually, and they're embraced by the music and loved and embraced by the musicians. So to document that culture and to represent that music meets and delights people's needs, as well as challenges us as well. I have the C's of music, and one of them is challenge, critique, curate. I have all these wonderful things because we try to talk to people. Musicians, we don't need to talk to about that, but oftentimes our audiences want to hear us figure out other ways to give them inroads into being able to understand and appreciate the music, and then the groove in it too. But I think that whole idea of what composers are oftentimes, as you know, put on the side. As a matter of fact, they're put on the side so much that we have to study the ones that are dead and no longer live here anymore, which is okay. I'm all for dead composers, but the ones that are living are the ones we're most concerned about. And it's wonderful to be able to have this conversation with you all about that documentation and process. But in closing, if we're going to have any hope really in art forward in these era that we're living in and the eras beyond, it's really got to be with younger people. It's got to be the impulses where they are. They're the creative thinkers and their perspectives, and they have the next read on this current world, as it were. And those collaborations are very important, even as it relates to the older composers sharing their ideas and their life and their visions to, shape in some ways, or spark plug, as it were, the younger artists to do what they need to do. And I think this is kind of what needs to happen. But I think also that collaboration, the other thing we need to talk about as musicians right now is the notion of a broadened base of the definitions about kind of what we mean about concert or art music traditions. Those categorical bins that have been set up to keep us divided must be completely done away with. We don't need them anymore. What we need is the invitation like this to be able to talk to music, to share what it is, to have a sense of that dance, as I call it, in art that brings us all together, and then ultimately brings us together with people. So composers, now is the time, as that great tune says. I sound like a preacher, right? Now is the time to really stay together with these ideas and continue to make the music forward. We thank you so much for listening. Blessings to all, and thank you so much. Take care of ourselves, be safe, and let's just keep the music forward. Thank you very much. It's been great to share.